This is a blue whale. By raw mass alone, it is the heaviest animal to ever live. Over 80 feet long, nearly 200 tons of muscle, bone, and blubber. For a long time, we believed this was the absolute ceiling of life itself. Not because evolution lacked imagination, but because physics drew a line. Any bigger, and an animal's own body would collapse under its weight. Bones would fail, organs would crush themselves. The blue whale doesn't just exist, it balances on the knife edge of what biology allows. Or at least, we thought it did. Until we found this. A single fossilized jawbone, so large it didn't make sense, so absurd it sat unclassified for years. It belonged to something else, something ancient, something terrifying. Scientists now call it Ichthyotitan, and it may have been the only creature in Earth's history capable of rivaling or even surpassing the blue whale. The strangest part? It wasn't a whale at all. To understand why this matters, we need to agree on what big actually means. When people ask for the biggest animal ever, they usually mean mass, not length, because length is easy to cheat. The Argentinosaurus stretched over 110 feet, but much of that was neck and tail, a living suspension bridge. Impressive, yes, but it weighed less than half a blue whale. Even the bootlace worm can reach 180 feet long, but it weighs about as much as a damp towel. That's not giant, that's just long. The blue whale wins because it is dense, a solid, moving block of life. So where does Ichthyotitan fit? Estimates suggest it reached around 85 feet in length, but unlike other long animals, it wasn't thin. It was massive, thick, built like a biological submarine. The largest confirmed specimen is estimated at around 120 tons. At first glance, that seems smaller than a blue whale's famous 200-ton figure. But here's the catch. That 200 tons, that's not average. That's the upper extreme. The average blue whale weighs closer to 100 to 150 tons. Suddenly, the gap disappears. And here's where things get unsettling. We've measured thousands of blue whales. We know their limits. But Ichthyotitan? We've found 2 jawbones. That's it. Out of millions that likely lived across millions of years, we happen to find 2. The odds that those 2 represent the largest individuals to ever exist are essentially 0. And then there's something even more disturbing. Before Ichthyotitan was officially named, paleontologists found another jawbone, older, even larger, known as Osteocolossus. At the time, it was dismissed as an anomaly, too big to classify, too unbelievable. But now, with Ichthyotitan confirmed, scientists are revisiting it, and the math gets ridiculous. If Osteocolossus belonged to the same type of animal, size estimates jump to nearly 175 tons. That's not a maximum. That's likely an average large adult. Now, apply the same scaling we see in whales, where the largest individuals grow about 60% larger than the average. Suddenly, the theoretical maximum for Ichthyotitan isn't 175 tons. It's closer to 280 tons. Let that sink in. A reptile, heavier than any animal alive today, possibly heavier than any animal that ever lived. Is this proven? No. But it's also not impossible.
And that's what makes this terrifying. Because evolution doesn't need certainty. It only needs opportunity. So how did something like this exist? The answer is water. On land, gravity is ruthless. Anything over 100 tons snaps its own legs. But underwater, buoyancy changes everything. You don't need to hold yourself up. You just need to float. This is why the largest animals in history were marine. But size alone isn't enough. You also need efficiency. Ichthyotitan lived in the open ocean, fully pelagic. No coastlines, no shallow hunting. And in the open sea, being small is expensive. Physics favors giants. The larger you are, the less energy you lose to drag relative to your mass. It's why cruise ships are more efficient than speedboats. Ichthyotitan wasn't built for speed. It was built for endurance. A living torpedo, capable of crossing entire oceans without burning through energy. Then there's the cold. The deep ocean is freezing, even during the Triassic. Reptiles hate the cold, unless they become enormous. At extreme sizes, animals unlock a cheat code known as gigantothermy. They retain heat simply because it can't escape fast enough. Ichthyotitan became a living thermal battery. And then there was food. The late Triassic Ocean was a buffet. Giant squid, massive fish, other marine reptiles, and most importantly, no competition, no whales, no megalodons, no orcas. Once Ichthyotitan crossed a certain size threshold, it had no rivals. Natural selection didn't whisper, it shouted, "Get bigger." So it did, and for a brief moment in Earth's history, the ocean belonged to something so large it bent the rules. Then, everything collapsed. Around 201 million years ago, the Triassic period ended violently. The Earth cracked open. Lava poured out for thousands of years. CO2 flooded the atmosphere. Oceans warmed. They acidified. Ichthyotitan wasn't killed instantly. Something worse happened. Its food disappeared. And this is where being enormous becomes a curse. A 200-ton animal needs millions of calories a day just to exist. When ecosystems crash, giants starve first. Ichthyotitan vanished. Not because it was weak, but because it was too successful. Other ichthyosaurs survived by shrinking, by becoming faster, more agile. The age of biological cargo ships ended, and for 200 million years, the niche of true oceanic titans sat empty until mammals returned to the sea. Whales figured out filter feeding. Krill replaced squid, and giants were reborn. Peaceful ones. Ichthyotitan was different. It wasn't a gentle grazer. It was a lost experiment. A reptile that reached the limits of physics and vanished. And here's the most unsettling part. We may have missed something even bigger. Less than 0.01% of all life ever fossilized. We are reconstructing Earth's history from scraps. If creatures like Ichthyotitan were rare freaks, we shouldn't have found them at all. The fact that we did suggests they weren't rare. So what didn't we find? What lies eroded away, were buried beneath miles of rock? Was 200 tons the limit, or just the limit of what we've uncovered? The blue whale rules today's oceans, but it rules a world Ichthyotitan conquered first. 200 million years earlier, and it will never return. Not because it can't evolve again, but because the world that allowed it is gone. And maybe that's a good thing, because I'm very comfortable knowing the largest animals alive today eat plankton. Thanks for watching. And if you want to learn about the most dangerous whale to ever live, the one that hunted other whales, check out the next video. Evolution has stories far darker than this one.